When you're focused on a niche, you can accomplish so much just going to one community in one day. So convenience is a factor, expertise is the other. When I talk to people, this is gonna sound very confident, but I don't have to pitch them that I'm the best realtor. I already know it's set up in my marketing. So I had a client reach out to me last month. They contracted within 3 days. They were able to contract because they knew the videos I was doing in the communities that they were interested in. I was doing so many videos. I had 11 closings in one community that they were looking at. They already knew my expertise at that level. Well, on the very first phone call, we already got into consulting. And so, when I first started as a realtor, that never happened, right? I had to earn the right to kind of consult with them, that I'm the best realtor for them, I'm gonna work hard for them. I don't necessarily have to do that anymore because it's already baked into my YouTube marketing, if that makes sense. It's not just about doing volume, it's about how you're doing it. And right now, I'm able to do it in a handful of communities that I just go back and forth to every single week.
You're listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world. We talk with real estate professionals all across North America, but their wins, losses, lessons, and stories help you win in your local market today. My name's Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined with Vikram Deal of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram, what's happening, man? What's shaking? Like you've been back in Medellin for the last week. I'm, suffering in the cold right now and back in Canada. So Hopefully only suffering for another week and a half. But what's good in your world, my friend?
Bro. Just got a client win, wanted to share. Yeah, it's somebody who was been in the industry for 7 years, had a really bad streak of luck, and was doing the things that he had learned from his old brokerage, and he's doing more of it, right? He was putting in more calls, he was putting in more effort, he was putting in more output, but the more input, but the output wasn't showing up for him. And he, we've been working together for 3 weeks, and he's like, two listings and 2 open escrows in the last 21 days. And this is a guy that, he's not a slacker, right? Last year did 6 figures plus. But this year just kind of hit him like a rock because the things that were working in an up economy were no longer working. And a lot of people, and I just say this, not everybody needs what I do. Not everybody needs what you do, right? But in an up economy, everything works. And a down economy is when you need to start to pivot and you need to start to look at what you're doing, because putting in more input, but you're running to the wrong goal line faster and harder just means that you're putting in the energy to get not what you want. And, our friend Rachel Novak and Mike Novak up in northern Seattle area, they just crossed 100 mil for the year. And they are a 100 mil, 110, 120, 130 million a year team. They're going to finish the year at 110 to 120, which is exactly what they did last year, which means everybody else is down 40%. They're really up 35% year over year because the market has dropped 35%. So when the market comes back, they're going to be a $200 million team. And Rachel Novak was one of our guests, I don't know, maybe 75 episodes ago. She's a beast. So not everybody's having a down market. Some people are down 20%. Their markets are down 60. So they're still up 40. So I just wanted to say, you guys, if you learn the right skills and you do the right things, the input will match the output. Yeah, man, good shit happening. What about you, brother?
Man, back in Canada, just surviving the cold. Clients are winning. We're working with a lot of large teams right now, a lot of really helping them set appointments. Something that I decided to launch recently through conversations with you, but also conversations with Sharon, is we're gonna launch a bi-weekly live transfer role play for our clients.
So I can't wait.
Clients are already really, really excited for that. I think you're
going to
potentially help us with. Yeah, it's going to be a role play call. Role play and call
review. Can I be on it?
Yeah, 100% you can. Yeah. So we're launching that for our clients, especially for the team leads that we work with, that, working database leads is a totally different beast than working Zillow leads. So if we can equip the team leads teams with the resources and the scripting and the tonality in order to convert more of the database leads, it's massive. And it's just it's a massive value prop that, through conversations with Sharon, I was like, this just, especially right now, this just makes sense, trying to go to more training for our clients so that we can help them take the people in their database and actually convert them from contract to close. So that's something that we're working on right now.
I've been coaching with Jeremy Miner for the last year, NEPQ, and I just actually wrote a new script just for this. Yeah. And then I also wrote a script to help people. I'm working on a script. It'll be ready in about a week to help people converting more online leads, because a lot of our clients are doing a lot of cool shit on social, but they're not getting the conversion from like their Instagram. Like they don't know how to take somebody that's reached out or somebody that's liked a comment. They don't know how to take that and create the conversation without being salesy. So that's one of the things that we're working on that I hope to have out in the next week, maybe 2 weeks, because it's something that, it's a really big lost opportunity for people that are making content. It's one of the reasons why, and this will be a great segue into our guest today, which you can introduce. It's one of the reasons why agents don't make content anymore, is because they get opportunities to have conversations, but then they take the conversation and they do what their broker told them or what their friend told them. And it's a sales conversation instead of curiosity conversation. And what happens is that buyer or that seller or that prospective lead that might be a year out gets turned off. And I'm guilty of it when we first started doing conversion in the DM. Like we all go for the gauntlet, the kill. And so it's going to be like really cool because our guests, which you want to introduce our guests, bro?
Yeah, we have Raj. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the R Agent podcast.
Cody didn't say your last name because you don't want to butcher it.
All right. It's Yahoo, isn't it? No, Sahoo. Yeah.
Sahoo. I was gonna say Sahoo. I was gonna say Sahoo. But that's you always get that second you second guess yourself. You're like, okay, I'm gonna say it the wrong way. I'm gonna butcher it, and then the guest is gonna be like, what the hell, man? I've done that. I've been down that road. But like, why don't you give us a high level overview on where you're selling real estate, what you're doing, and we're gonna dive into some tactics today around YouTube, around bomb videos, around really real estate lead conversion. We're going to cover all of that today. But before we do that, before we go tactical, give us kind of the 60 seconds version of what, your 4 years in real estate.
Sure. My name is Raj Sahoo, like Cody was mentioning. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I went all in on YouTube back in 2021. So that year I decided to post 2 videos a week, be very consistent, learn the market through video, but with a focus on generating leads and having that as my primary lead source. There's always a little bit of a lag with my sales because I do all new construction, so it takes time for those homes to get built and close out. But that year in 2021, I did 4.3 million in closed volume. The next year, I did 8.7 million. This year to date, I'm at 18 million, and I'll be around 20 million by the end of the year. I'm a solo agent. All of that business, or 98% of that business, comes from YouTube, and it's all done through organic YouTube leads. So I've never spent $1 in ads. And at this point, I just focus in on my niche. So I don't do resale homes really anymore. I haven't written a resale offer in over 2 years. And so I have just continued to double down on my niche, which is YouTube and new construction.
All right, man. So you're an anomaly. All right. Like you definitely, I would say, are an anomaly. I know there's a lot of people that are having success out there. And the reason when I saw you, fellow real broker, so super cool. But when I saw what you're doing, and I saw you, I don't know where I saw you, at somewhere in the workplace, you'd done a training or somebody had recommended one of your videos. I was like, shit, we have got to have this dude on because you're doing fairly well in a down market. And the thing is that a lot of agents would love to do even a fraction. Like if an agent could do an extra $4 or $5 million a year for them, that would be like their whole year.
This is.
When you got into YouTube in 2021, right? And you said, I'm going to go all in, I'm going to go hard in the paint, I'm going to make this my number one lead conversion. How did you start? Like, what was your planning process? How did you decide on 2 videos a week? How did you decide on the content you were going to create? And then how long did it take before? Because I always tell people, it doesn't matter where your business comes from. There's always going to be a learning curve. So there's going to be a lag, whether you decide you're going to go door knock, you're going to go call expireds, you're going to do open houses. It might take you 3 months of sitting open houses before you get your first real sit down prospect. So how long did it take for you when you decided, and let's kind of just back up 2 years and start real
Yeah.
tactical? Because I
Sure.
think you're an anomaly, because I don't know a lot of agents doing even one deal off of social, and they spend a lot of time on social.
Absolutely. So the interview question, to really gain momentum, it took about 5 months, I would say.
Okay.
And then I had 4 clients contract in that month, all on new construction, all from YouTube.
Okay.
Going back to your original question of like what to post, I think it starts with a problem. You have to identify what's a problem that needs to be solved in the market. My problem that I saw, that I experienced as a consumer before I got into real estate, is we were looking at new construction and there were so many options. So many options. Even asking my agent that we had, he didn't know the answers. There were so many different floor plans, so many builders. And so I felt like if I can provide if I can get a good grasp on the options that are out there at a certain price point, certain square footage, then I can advise clients better. And apologies, I'm losing my voice here. Let me just
You're
take
good,
a
bro.
drink of water.
We appreciate you being on, you guys. He just had COVID. He was super sick all week. He was at a conference last night at the Real Rise event, which was, just jam-packed of information and learning. So we appreciate you being on with and not rescheduling.
No worries. I'm feeling much better. It's just my voice.
Star,
And that was perfect timing, right? First question. But the answer was, I felt like people didn't know all the different options in floor plans. And so if I could show that in a video format, show what options exist in all the floor plans, give a lot of out-of-state buyers a visual of what's possible here in Austin, and give a final price point. Builders like to put base prices in there, but then you got to add lot premium, you got to add upgrades, you got to add all these things. It feels like a game, because it is. I can show people how to play the game, and I can show you where builders are overpriced. I can show you where there are some actually very good options. And I realized there was this huge gap to consult people, and nobody was doing it.
Hold up, man. So you're doing something interesting, because you could be potentially pissing off a builder, because you're like the guy that goes into the car dealership with the secret camera that's like, all right, you walk in, the sticker price is $9,000, but when you walk out, it's $82 million because of all the protection and the upgrades and the stereo and the paint. You're showing behind the scenes of what it is actually like going from a base grade home, right? Whatever the base grade for that builder, to an upgraded model, and what the possible potentials are. Didn't that piss off didn't that possibly piss off like your builder community? Because they're like, hey man, you're possibly taking sales away from us?
No, they loved it. In fact, builder agents send my videos out to people when people need a visual of it, because it saves them time. They're the ones explaining that, exactly what I'm explaining, when people enter their office. And if people are pissed off when they're going into their office, that doesn't actually really help them. But when I can explain all the different upgrades and I can promote a builder, that really helps alleviate that builder agent that's on site, especially with trying to give a visual for floor plans that they don't have under construction. I capture those homes under construction. I show them. I have builder agents sending my videos out to their clients all the time.
So let me dive into the tactic behind this, because this is important. So you create the video, you have the YouTube video, you got it consistent. You said it took you 5 months before you really got any real traction. So was there a strategic plan around, obviously you chose the niche, here's the problem we're trying to solve. Did you find that the videos created the relationship with the builder community, or was it you created the relationship with the building community and then created the video? Walk me through kind of what opened the door to have the conversation.
To have the conversation, it was simply just stopping by and truly getting videos of these floor plans for clients that I had interested in these builders. I would then post that video later on YouTube and do a voiceover on it. But I would first get that video for a client. So building that relationship was, for these builders, they hate getting a phone call and they have to walk everybody from A to Z. They'd rather work with a client that's already educated on the plans, already educated on the best ones, already educated on the upgrades, and it's pretty much teed up. They just have to hit it out of the park. And that's so much easier for the builder agent. So when I would walk into an office and say, hey, I'm going to do videos of the various floor plans that you have, send them to my clients, help them narrow it down, and then set up an appointment to walk through the best plan for them, they're ecstatic, because I'm doing a lot more work for them that most agents would never do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's really good. So what was the initial conversation? Because I talk to clients that are like, oh, we want to do social. We'd love to do the new market community. Walk me through, Raj, like if you could, like if we could just role play even, what was that call like for the age, like for you, the first time you're like, hey, I don't want to do this for a client. I want to do this for my YouTube channel.
Sure. I don't really mention too much about YouTube early on. I'm really getting those videos for clients and sending them out. I would say that was the case in 2021. It was different. Yeah.
If let's say an agent doesn't have a client right now, right? Maybe you've trained some other agents that don't necessarily have an active buyer, but they want to start doing this. And I'm a believer, like, you don't lie to get your foot in the door. Like,
sure.
Yeah, I'm not that type of guy that's like, oh, just lie and say you got a potential client. Sure, you have a potential client eventually, but what do you think that conversation might look like?
Then it's just a matter. I would say in 2021, it was different. YouTube was still a little bit odd to post videos on there. Now builders are actually calling me, asking me if I can get their new model home on my YouTube channel. So the tide has shifted where you can walk into anybody's office now and just say, hey, I'd like to post some of the homes that you have under construction or this model home that we're standing in. I'd love to get it on my YouTube channel and show the great features of this home.
So the resistance is a little bit, you've broken down the walls of resistance for the agents now. So everybody should send you a $5 Starbucks gift card or some hauls for your
Right. I don't think I ever had too much resistance. I mean, it caught on pretty quickly that I was posting on YouTube.
Right.
I mean, some of these model homes, people are not even in. So it's not like I'm waiting for somebody to tell me, okay, I can go promote your product for free. It just, you just do it. Right. And I never really had too many conversations around it, but now it's a lot different. It's just simply just asking to get it put on YouTube because it's easy to do that in 2023.
Hey, what's up? If you're a real estate agent that is not converting at least 2 deals a month, join me inside the Real Estate Sales Academy, where I will teach you exactly what to say, how to say it, so that we prevent objections and we don't create sales resistance from our prospects. If you're not doing at least 2 deals a month, comment trial below, because I'm going to give you an opportunity to try our program before you buy it. You're going to get 3 live coaching calls with me, who sold over $250 million in real estate, millions of dollars of Cutco knives for free, because I believe in try before you buy, proof over promise. See you inside, comment trial below.
So you're doing a lot. You say like 98% of your business is coming from YouTube, which is, people I think like are trying to find the right source that will feed them. And I think that you early on said, like, I got consistent with it. You're posting 2 YouTube videos a week. And like, what are you doing? Like, what goes into the prep behind the YouTube videos? Because a lot of people, like, when they say, oh, 2 YouTube videos a week, that's, I can do that. That's easy. But they could do the exact same thing and post 2 videos a week and not get 98% of the business that comes from YouTube. Like, so walk us through, I guess, how you are, how you think that the YouTube algorithm is bringing people to your videos and how you're actually doing transactions. Because I know people that post YouTube videos that they've never seen a deal in their life from the YouTube videos they post. So what do you think is that you're doing that is different, that is actually getting people to contact you, to work with you on their new construction project?
Absolutely. So to get into the tactics, there's so much, but if I had to break it down into 3 different categories, the first is, how do you get people to click on a thumbnail? The second is, how do you keep people on the video? And that would be like average view duration, audience retention. And the third is, how do you get them to watch another video? Okay. So I'll start with the first. To be very clear, I do only walkthroughs of homes. It's my bread and butter. It's what I do all day long, every single week, and have for a couple years now. With these walkthroughs on the video, the thumbnail is really important, where I try to make the home feel as grand as possible. That's sometimes as simple as just getting on one knee, pointing up at the home. I try to get things centered, and then I have an editor edit it for me after the fact. Are you
doing your own video walkthroughs?
Yes. I've just recently hired a videographer, but I've only posted 1 video with them so far. I'm using a gimbal to answer your question and stabilize my a cell phone. I have a wide angle lens screwed into that cell phone, and then I just walk through the home. So the viewer is getting like a first point of view of it. It's not like I'm in the video sharing anything. I'm just giving them my perspective through video. Now, the audio, I do a voiceover after the fact, and that's because in model homes, they're usually playing songs. It's usually a lot of people in those model homes. I like to control the audio and plan for it. So I do that after the fact. It's a lot more work to do it that way, but that's allowed me to do exactly what you asked, Cody, which is get people to reach out to me. When you can control the audio, it's so different of an experience for the viewer because I can plan ahead, say things in the beginning that hook the viewer in, explaining what's coming up. That could be $1 million view off the back patio, or the second floor balcony upstairs is incredible, or the space somewhere later on in the video that we're going to explore is why you should stay on the video. Like, I can come up with those things, and that's different for every house. I don't have to come up with it on the spot. I can plan ahead and know how I'm going to hook the viewer. So having a good hook is very important in the beginning.
To go a little bit more tactical here, what program are you using to bring in that after audio?
I'm using Adobe Premiere, but it's very clunky, and I'm just clicking a button that allows me to do a voiceover. I'm sure there's a better software out there, but I've liked Adobe Premiere. When you do a video of a home, you have to ask yourself who you're talking to. So when I'm doing what I would call more of a top of funnel video that could go viral for me is like 300,000 views, I'm talking to more of a new viewer who's never really been to my channel, probably doesn't know much about Austin. And so that's my avatar that I'm speaking to. For that viewer, they don't care who I am. So for some of those homes, I don't even introduce myself in the beginning. I forget to do it, and then I do it like 3 to 4 minutes in. Nobody cares, right? They care about the home. They care about the $1 million view. They care about the kitchen with the $300,000 in upgrades. They want to see something visually appealing. So those big monster custom homes, 5,000 square feet, $2 to $6 million, those are the ones that get a ton of views. That's my top of funnel. Eventually, I want that same viewer to get into my more middle of funnel video. That would be a home that's actually for sale, a little bit higher than the median home price. For my market, that's like $700,000 to $1 million. The home's empty. So if you're a viewer watching some guy walk through an empty home with no staging, I would venture to say you're probably a little bit more of a serious buyer. That viewer, I'm speaking to a specific avatar. I pretend that I'm speaking to one of my clients that I had over the last couple years. That's usually, for me, a tech buyer that's looking for their forever home. And I start talking more about storytelling. I'm talking about experiences my clients have had in that area. I'm talking about people who have moved here from California, from Seattle. It's more about the story, and I'm trying to connect with my audience emotionally.
Cody, can you give a quick example of your story? I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but you're giving great nuggets, and I know that people, when they hear these things, it sounds good, but like, how would you, and I know your audience really well because that was my audience in Bellevue, so we talked to the same person, but perfect, yeah. How are you talking to, and just use your examples because that's what you know the best.
Sure.
How are you talking to them in story form and giving them like a real life experience so that you guys can take this into your own marketplace and just model what Raj is teaching?
Great question. So 2 examples that come to mind. The first is something simple. For homes that I walk through, I found the biggest challenge was getting 2 bedrooms downstairs, but still having high ceilings when you first walk in the home and in the living room. And it's because that second bedroom downstairs is for parents when they're visiting. They don't want them going up and down the steps. Yep. So I just kept mentioning that in every video. And in every Zoom call, I'd get people that would say, hey, we need second bedroom down for the exact reason why you say in all of your videos. So it's like almost like a call to action without saying anything. I'm connecting with my audience emotionally and telling them it's okay to look at things like that. Like, that's how I'm going to plan with you when we go through the home. Another way that was highly effective is I toured a home from a client that had moved here from Seattle. And Seattle, people moving from Seattle is around 32% of leads that I get.
Wow.
And so in that video, I went into the backyard and I negotiated with the builder to have my client, have them build like a pergola back there. So there's something to actually see. They also backed up to a greenbelt where you could get a gate. We got a gate put in to exit to the greenbelt and walk his dog. So I talked about that, and I talked about how they moved from Seattle because it was cloudy so much in 6 months out of the year,
9
and
months.
They realized they could go back in the summer and visit Seattle. And I talked about that. I talked about the weather, and I said the number one question I get from people from Seattle is, does it get hot here in the summer? And I answered it honestly. And I said,
Right.
yeah, it does get brutally hot, but people can fly back and forth to Colorado. People double down. They go to Mexico. It's like an hour and a half flight. Like, I gave some things that people were asking. And I got 2 people that called me from that said, when you said from Seattle, their ears perked up. And when I mentioned the question that most people ask me, does it get hot here? One of the couples said they just asked each other the same thing the day prior to talking to me. They said, should we really call him? Like, are we really serious about getting to Texas? Like, isn't it really hot there in the summer? So I think the answer to your question, Vikram, is basically you need to predict what people are asking themselves and then incorporate that into a storytelling fashion. I'm not the authority on weather. I'm not the authority on whether Seattle's better than Austin, but I can storytell and explain what one of my clients have told me when visiting Austin and now what they're actually experiencing as a homeowner.
When it's really interesting because we're having like a buyer persona conversation, and like as soon as you mentioned like tech people from Seattle, my mind immediately went to Vikram, because that was really Vikram's avatar when he was selling real estate in Seattle. This entire conversation about buyer persona, or about the type of person that we want to reach, or the type of person we want to engage with and have conversation with, is something that I've been saying to agents for years. And so many agents, I think, are reluctant to really go all in and to speak directly to that niche, because they have this fear that if I go all in on this niche, I'm going to ostracize everyone else that potentially might want to buy and sell real estate. Now, it's really interesting. You said something at the top of the hour where it's like, I'm finally at a point where I don't have to necessarily do resale because I don't want to, but you were doing resale before.
Right.
Like, what would you say to an agent? Because I have this fundamental belief that I think that from a marketing perspective, a branding perspective, I think that agents should try to go more, buyer persona focused. And if they want to open up multiple funnels, they can. They can have the funnel that targets the tech home buyer. They can have the funnel with the downsizer. They can have the funnel with the business owner that wants to buy a waterfront. I guess what is your advice at looking back at your journey towards, your sales of the last 4 years around really going all in on your buyer persona?
I would say convenience is going to be one of them, and expertise is going to be the other. So the convenience of going to 5 to 7 communities every week and walking a couple homes that you have clients under contract, walking another one that you have a meeting, then getting a video of the newest model home. I can go to communities now and get 7 to 10 activities that I can do in that community because that's my niche. And I think if you're all over the city, you're spending all this time in your car, the amount of production that you can do is not anywhere close to somebody who's focused on a niche. Because when you're focused on a niche, you can accomplish so much just going to one community in one day. So convenience is a factor. Expertise is the other. When I talk to people, this is going to sound a little bit, it's going to sound very confident, but I don't have to pitch them that I'm the best realtor. I already know it's set up in my marketing. So I had a client reach out to me last month. They contracted within 3 days. They were able to contract because they knew the videos I was doing in the communities that they were interested in were, I was doing so many videos. I had 11 closings in one community that they were looking at. They already knew my expertise at that level. On the very first phone call, we already got into consulting. And so, when I first started as a realtor, that never happened, right? I had to earn the right to kind of consult with them, that I'm the best realtor for them. I'm going to work hard for them. I don't necessarily have to do that anymore because it's already baked into my YouTube marketing, if that makes sense. And so those would be the 2 biggest factors where it's not just about doing volume, it's about how you're doing it. And right now, I'm able to do it in a handful of communities that I just go back and forth to every single week.
Man, if you guys have followed me long enough, you know that we got right into business with every conversation we've ever had. I don't ask about family, friends, occupation, dreams, things of that nature. I go right into why they're here, why they're looking for a home. And those questions naturally come up with me. But when you spend, like you're saying, when you spend so much time in a community, when you spend so much time in this new construction, and here's what agents don't realize, which you probably do, when you're inside new construction and you learn how the bolts are put in, you put the nails in. Why did they use this nail? Why didn't they use that nail? They use a straight nail, they use a screw. Why they use all the things that they're using inside of a property, because as you're touring, you're seeing things. Why did they use this plumbing versus that plumbing? Why did one community use the higher end fixtures versus this? Like, why are the builder cost per square footage different? People see that. They're like, okay, this is a $500 square foot building. This is a $600. Well, what's the difference? Because the average consumer doesn't know the difference. So they think all houses are the same. They think all realtors are the same. They think everything is the same, but it's like, hey, why did one steakhouse, like I'll just use Bellevue, for example. There's a steakhouse called John Howie's. There's a steakhouse called Prime Ascend. Well, one's in the Bravern on the 3rd floor, which has a view of the freeway, mountains as well, but it has a view of the freeway. The other one's on the 50th floor of a beautiful building that sees 360-degree panoramic views of the city. One steak costs $80. The other steak costs $120. I would say the quality of the steaks is probably similar, but the quality of your experience and the view is different. And when you guys become true experts of what you're doing in your community, like you said, Raj, it's how many hours do agents, I know agents that will literally spend 8-9 hours a week driving, and they're like, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm like, what is the opportunity cost? How much is your hour worth driving around versus becoming an expert? And it's one of the things I teach in our program is like, go to new construction, even if you don't want that to be your niche, and ask them why they use screws versus nails. Ask them why they do this versus that. Ask them why they're building the way. I bet you your expertise, right? I don't want to make an assumption, but I would assume that your expertise in construction over the last 2 years, from 2020 when you first got into 2020 or 2019 to today, is vastly different. Your ability to talk about homes, HVAC, the components, completely different, right? So as we wrap up here, I know Cody's at his family's house, so there's probably a little baby or a dog running around. As we wrap up here, man, first off, thank you for opening up your playbook so generously, because, like, I took notes and I'm like, I'm just going to drop this into our social media part of our course for our clients. The last question, and Cody, if you got another one, because we are running up on time, but people reach out. Where do people reach out? Do you have a link? Do you have a funnel? Do you have an automatic Zoom where they can just schedule in an appointment? How do people actually get a hold of you? Because YouTube doesn't have a messaging platform.
Yeah, and I have the worst answer. So for 2 years, I had a phone number in the description of my video.
I love
just
it.
said call, text that number.
Hold on. I got to pause you real quick, because I talk to agents all day long. I barely built a website because I was speaking at Rise, and they're like, hey, you need a website. And I was like, Sharon, dude, I don't know how to make a website. He's like, bro, go here. It's 2023, man. Like, go do these 3 things and spend 2 hours. You'll have a website up. You did $15 million in transactions with just a phone number on your YouTube page.
Yes.
Okay. Agents, I love you guys. Stop overcomplicating it. Put your phone number, and that will get people that are interested. When you show the right thing, are going to reach out. Okay. Now what do they, now that you're a little bit more sophisticated?
So now I have a website that people can go to where I have homes that are about to come up for sale. So that's like more of my bottom of funnel content. But to get access to that, they have to give up an email, some sort of contact information. That's worked really well. I've done one video like that, and I'm expecting my leads to 4x this month. They're not going to be as good of leads that I've been getting, but I'm definitely getting a lot more leads already just doing one video like that.
So you didn't have like a Calendly link, like, hey, you can book in and they can automatically get to your
I did in the beginning. I did Calendly in the beginning, but then when it started to get too busy, I just can't have people left and right booking Zoom. So I just put my phone number.
Okay. And then real quick, this is like a whole nother conversation that we might need to have. How are you taking the conversation to an appointment? So I put my phone number in, you get my information, right? You send me a text. Hey, Raj, I'm Cody's jumping in on multiple channels here. That's awesome. That was confusing. So you get a buyer that puts in a lead, and what is your conversation like with that person? Is it like, hey, are you ready to buy a house? I'm Raj Sahoo. I'm the master of new construction. I'm the #1 real estate agent in Austin on YouTube.
Yes.
Let's go write an offer, or is there a little bit of a different approach?
Yeah, I saved the #1 agent in the world speech, and I just try to focus in on value. So my first phone call is just information gathering, like probably everybody else. But by the end of that
it's
call,
not like everybody else, bro. I can promise you, most people are like, "Hey, you got my information. Let's go. Like, when do we write an offer?" And I'm like, that never works.
Yeah, first it's information gathering, and then by the end of that call, I explain that I'm going to do a bomb video for them, which is I share my screen and I send an email with that video and embedded into the body of that email. And that video is basically comparing communities, because my content online on YouTube is just home walkthroughs. I do talk about communities, but I'm never sharing my screen. That content's generally speaking very boring. It doesn't do well. So I do it on my bomb video. And from a viewer's perspective, if they've been binge watching my content and now they're going to get a customized video from me explaining their top options and pros and cons, they want to book that Zoom like 100% of the time. I think the click-through rate on my bombs like 99% or something ridiculous like that. And every single one is converting to Zoom after that.
That's so good. Yeah, I think, wrapping up here, because I know we have to wrap up, like so much value today around like buyer persona, around, I had some technical difficulties, so thank you for bearing with me. But so much value today around like, bomb videos. I think that, YouTube and bomb videos, specifically bomb videos. I want to wrap up with this last question, and then we'll close it out. What are you saying in the bomb video that you think is getting them to show up to the meeting? Because I've said this to our agents before, especially when there's an ISA handoff to an agent, I say, like, you got to record something, whether it be bomb or like just grab your phone. You got to say something. What are you saying in that bomb video that you think is getting them to show up to that meeting?
It's what I'm not saying. I'm not selling. I try not to advertise in my YouTube videos, and my bomb videos are just an extension of that. I'm not actually giving just pros. I'm giving pros and cons. There might be a neighborhood that's great, really popular. They just built a high school there. The amount of traffic is crazy. Even in the summer, there's band camp, and it's a nightmare there. And I'll say that I purposely mention cons in the video so they know I'm not a salesman and just trying to convince them to buy somewhere. And I think it extends that trust that I put out there in my videos, that I try to incorporate all these details. I'm not just a salesman. I'm going to walk through every detail possible, and I'm going to give you pros and cons. And I think not selling is probably the key to both types of videos.
But artists selling without selling, baby. I love it, Raj.
100%, especially on content. Raj, I want to say thank you for joining us today on the Origin podcast and just sharing so freely with all your information. Thank you once again, and thank you.
Where do they find Raj at, bro? Raj, where can people find you?
Raj, where's the best place to find you?
Don't go to Raj's YouTube page and fuck up his algorithm. So go. Where do people find you, Raj?
Yeah, you can search me, Raj Sahoo, Realtor. I'm on Instagram, not as much as YouTube, but all my information's on my YouTube. So feel free to reach out to me there and check me out.
Raj, I want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Origin Podcast. If you're listening back on iTunes, Spotify, we've seen our biggest spike over the last month on iTunes and Spotify for downloads.
Yeah.
I think our downloads have literally doubled over. Yeah, so thank you for listening on iTunes and Spotify. We're trying to produce a great amount of content with great information so that you can win in your market today. All we ask is that you leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify so that we can reach more realtors and we can reach more real estate professionals and help them win in their market. Raj, I want to say thank you. Vic, I'll see you soon, and I'll see you. Thank you for tuning in to the Origin Podcast. We'll see you soon.